Howard Fineman's an MSNBC political analyst and the Huffington Post Media Group's editorial director. And Nia Malika Henderson is a national political reporter at the Washington Post. Howard, how do you see this? Did you read the article? When you read it all the way through, you have to look, I think, as a political analyst, as you do and I do, and see where there might be ammo. Where I see it, it's not, again, whether Bill Clinton did something wrong. We all know that. Or whether Hillary Clinton was hurt by it and embarrassed by it and all that. We all know that. And actually how she's prevailed against it herself. But this whole question of whether the Clintons were just too damn callous in the way they tried to make her into a stalker. As one aide, Sidney Blumenthal, called her a stalker. And, of course, Hillary Clinton called her a Looney Tune. Bill Clinton said that woman and almost didn't mention her name. That attempt to minimize the humanity of a person in order to get by a problem politically, that might sting. Your thoughts?
Well, Chris, I agree with you about the piece. I read the entire piece, and the bombshells are buried in the bottom at the end, where I think Monica Lewinsky allows herself to unburden herself a bit of the bitterness that she has about the campaign that was run against her. Chris, I lived through all this. I was at Newsweek at the time, writing about it. Mike Isikoff was our lead reporter on the story. I saw it moment by moment from the inside. And I also saw the campaign that was run against Monica Lewinsky. As she says in the piece, this was a consensual relationship. And then she was destroyed to the extent possible by the Clinton administration. She says in the piece, you know, I was the unstable stalker, a phrase disseminated by the Clinton White House. She goes on to say the Clinton administration, among others, were able to brand me, and that brand stuck. And as you say, she says they don't care about her fate. I think that's tough stuff. I think it goes to the question of what kinds of people the Clintons are as political leaders, if they're too ruthless by half, if they use people too, even by the standards of politics, too harshly. And really, ironically, the danger to Hillary Clinton may be as much among feminists, maybe as much on the left as it could be on the right, if you want to look at Monica Lewinsky and the way she was treated by the Clintons in those times. And as I say, I lived through them all and saw them.
You know, Nia, it seems to me the background, the favorite word is leitmotif. The background has shifted. Back in the 90s, it was still sort of sex is bad. If you catch a buyer or someone involved with it, you nail them. That's your gotcha. Today, I mean, especially with this horror that's happening over in Nigeria, it's about regard and protection of women and non-exploitation of women. And if that story shifts, if, as Norman Mailer used to write, the cosmos shifts, and instead of talking about whether he was naughty or not, which is not going to hurt Bill Clinton at all, or Monica Lewinsky or Hillary Clinton, so he doesn't even involve, Hillary's not even involved in the naughtiness, if you will. It's about whether you treat people, women, right. And I think the way Monica wrote this story, Monica Lewinsky, I don't know her, but the way she wrote it was as a victim and as a victim of the Clintons. Your thoughts?
Oh, that's right. And, you know, here's a situation that was obviously a private and consensual affair. It had to do with Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton's marriage, and obviously it became very public. I think in some ways that's the way a lot of women, a lot of people look at this. This was something that was between the Clintons and their marriage, and in many ways, if you look at someone who might be on the other end of an affair like that, they probably would go after sort of the interloper in a marriage. So I think, you know, sort of there is a sort of grand political narrative that Republicans will try to stir up around this.
No. They're not. Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State, even back then, never said there was something wrong with Monica, except that she wasn't telling the truth. She said she was a Looney Tune.
She said that privately and probably said
that she was somehow not really involved with her husband, that she should be dismissed, her charges. That woman, the whole narrative was, don't believe her until the blue dress and the DNA evidence, and then they had to change the story.
Right. They had to change the story, and we heard about Hillary Clinton, you know, Bill Clinton sleeping on the couch, all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, and that's very well documented. I mean, this isn't really new. I think what you're raising is whether or not in this context, when people talk about the idea of slut-shaming, whether or not people will sort of retroactively prosecute and criticize Hillary Clinton for engaging in what would have been called what was really slut-shaming back then. But, I mean, so far it looks like if you look at, you know, the damage that that did to Hillary Clinton and the Clintons. It really wasn't. Hillary Clinton had her highest approval ratings at that time,
right,
65%. So it'll be interesting if they can sort of retroactively
well, be interesting. That's what I want to get to, how the Republicans. Let's go to the politics, which is our strength, which is not morality around here, but politics. Let's take a look at the Vanity Fair article. Lewinsky in it talks candidly about her experiences being abused in the aftermath of the affair by the media and the Clintons. She writes here, quote, their lives had moved on. That's the Clintons. They occupy important and powerful places on the global stage. I wish them no ill. And I fully understand that what has happened to me and the issue of my future do not matter to either of them. Howard, that's buried, as you said, at the end of the piece. Why do you think that was thrown in there, this sort of statement of callousness after this? I don't hold any grudge, blah, blah, blah. But then, statement of fact, they don't give a darn about me.
Well, I think she does hold a grudge. And I think if she says I don't bear them any ill will, it certainly doesn't mean that she bears them any goodwill. And from the passages that I read also just here, Chris, I mean, it's clear to me, and I was surprised at her willingness to express her bitterness here about the campaign that was run against her. I mean, I agree with Nia that back in the day when all this was happening, Hillary's numbers could not have been higher because Hillary ended up being the victim. Hillary was the victim, and Hillary's sort of stoic acceptance of reality in that situation and her willingness to move on and not sort of wreck the presidency was admired by many people. She was one of the most admired people.
Very much so.
But this is a peak. Let's also keep in mind here, Chris, I mean, I agree with your analysis here. I think it shows the Clintons in a bad light for the way they tried to destroy this woman. But it also is to some degree ancient history. I mean, most people, young people especially, who are going to be critical in the primaries, who are going to be critical in the general election, I mean, this may as well be something out of a 19th century potboiler to them. The cultural context.
Yes, but it's all new to them, too. It can't be both old news and new news. Either they're learning this for the first time or they're tired of it. Which is it? Well,
the interesting thing to me is I don't think this is the last we've heard from Monica on this topic. I think she's basically saying here, if people would like to talk to me some more about how the Clintons tried to destroy me personally, I might be willing to discuss that. That's what I took from this. And if I were in the Clinton world, I would look at this as a shot across the bow from Monica Lewinsky. I really would.
That's right. And it also means that Hillary Clinton, when she goes out there now, she is going to get questions about this. This is in the news. She's sitting down with an interviewer. She's on her book tour. This is going to be a question she gets. And who knows what she's going to say at this point. She hasn't talked about this in many, many years. But perhaps she'll have some answer to this idea of whether or not she acted more as a wife or more as a sort of a calculating political operative back when this was going on.
Well, some conservatives are certainly going to try to make use of Lewinsky's article that just came out today to attack the Clintons. Last night, Fox News guest host Laura Ingraham used the Lewinsky article to attack the Clintons for their ruthlessness. I think Laura Graham is pretty smart here, but she doesn't stay consistently smart later when she's talking to Lynn Cheney, who is not smart. Let's watch.
When she became problematic for the Clintons' political ambitions, she was demeaned and discredited by the press and Clinton protectors, including Hillary herself. War on women? You bet. In the 1990s, the Clintons pioneered it.
Well, on Fox later that night, Lynn Cheney told Laura Ingraham that Hillary Clinton orchestrated the Lewinsky article, the one that just appeared. Here's Cheney making her paranoid claim.
I really wonder if this isn't an effort on the Clintons' part to get that story out of the way. Would Vanity Fair publish anything about Monica Lewinsky that Hillary Clinton didn't want in Vanity Fair?
That's very interesting. I love this theory. It actually makes perfect sense.